to go.
Welcome back, Buc Bros, to the podcast. We're bringing episode 5 to you guys here. And dang it, we're going into week 3, 2-0, undefeated after defeating the Eagles 27-21. Now I'm going to bring you guys the game review. And what I wanted to do was see how my game preview from last episode stood up to the test and how all of my key concerns contributed to the victory. So if you remember from last episode, I had 3 key concerns, and one of them was this. Does the Fitz magic continue? That's right. And of course, the Fitz magic did continue. He, again, threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. The first quarterback in NFL history to start a season with 2 400-yard performances and 2 4-touchdown performances. So he is doing amazing. I wanted to take a second to see how he's doing so well. And I'll take a second to say, obviously, he's on fire. He's taking advantage of defensive mistakes. We saw it on the first play against the Eagles where Malcolm Jenkins, the safety, I don't know why he was stepping up, but he stepped up. That allowed Deshaun Jackson to get a step on him. And Fitzpatrick took full advantage of that. He's completing more than 78% of his passes, which is ridiculous. But I also think he's being helped out by the receivers. I honestly think there's no defense in the league, maybe other than the Rams, who have 2 Pro Bowl cornerbacks, that can tie down our receivers. It's just, who are you going to double? Obviously, Mike Evans takes a lot of attention being a mismatch on smaller cornerbacks. Deshaun Jackson's finally paying dividends as the burner and getting those big plays that we brought him in to do. We got Chris Godwin, who would be a lot of teams' number 2, if not number 1 wide receiver. And we got him slated into the 3rd slot. We still got O.J. Howard is looking amazing at the tight end. He broke off that 75-yard touchdown play in the last game. And you still got Adam Humphrey and Cameron Brate, who, they're no slouches themselves. So there are just too many weapons. And defenses, I think the big thing we're doing right now, which we didn't do enough last season, was just taking advantage of the defensive mistakes. With all of those receiving threats, defenses have to play disciplined, and when they're not disciplined, we need to take full advantage of them. Again, going back to the first play in the last game, that's what Ryan Fitzpatrick has been doing so well. But it's not only his receivers, it's also his offensive line. And that was my key concern number 2 going into this game, where I said this. How does our offensive line handle their defensive line? And of course, while I did say that we might get a little more pressures, and we did, where Fletcher Cox had a sack and Ryan Fitzpatrick did get a lot more pressure on him, overall the offensive line did amazing. They had amazing pass protection. This was the 2nd game in a row where Ali Marpet, our left guard, didn't allow a pressure at all. So the pass protection is there. Obviously, you can see it in the form of big plays, because if there was no time to throw the ball, those big plays wouldn't happen. Now, we do need to shore up our run game. I don't know if anybody watches the Ali Marpet and Donovan Smith show that the Buccaneers.com is putting on, but they've admitted that the left side needs to up its run protection, and they're working on that. But pass protection, these first 2 games has been amazing, and the offensive line has looked actually really good. I'm really stoked for it for the first time in a long time. Now, my 3rd concern was where I said we needed to look the most, and that was this. Key number 3 in this game is the inexperience in our defensive backs, most importantly our cornerbacks. And to their credit, the youth at defensive back shown in this game. I think particularly Justin Evans had a great game. In fact, he was the 8th-ranked PFF defender throughout all of week 2. Ryan Smith was doing very well at the cornerback position, along with Carlton Davis and MJ Stewart. I also thought Chris Conte had a good game. The only mark I had against him was a big penalty that allowed the Eagles to continue a drive. Other than that, I thought all of our defensive backs had a good game. I think they were helped out by our defensive line that generated 3 sacks and a fumble. But, yeah, I think everybody played well. Now, we'll get more into this coming up later in the podcast concerning these young DBs. But first, we want to hear some overreactions by our man, John. John, why don't you give us some overreactions?
You want an overreaction? How about 13-3?
That's my updated prediction for the Bucs this season. There's absolutely no reason this team can't dominate the NFC, make the playoffs, and make a run deep. I mean, look at the weapons that we've put on the field. Look at the show that Ryan Fitzmagic has put on. Who's stopping us? What defenses do you see in the remaining games in this season that are able to stop us? They aren't there. Is it going to be the Browns? No. How about the Giants, the Cowboys? These teams are all garbage. They've played like messes all season long, and we are about to go into a Monday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a game that for some reason the front office has decided to charge 3 times as much money for tickets, and we're going to put it on them. We are going to put it on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're going to see guys like Brent Grimes come back. You may see Vita Vea get rotated in. You may even see some Ronald Jones sprinkled in on the running side of the game. And we are going to put it on them. I predict that we win this game 42-20 to 21 maybe. Maybe they miss an extra point. Who knows? But as far as overreactions go, our team is 2-0. We sit atop the NFC. We hold all the tiebreakers, strength of schedule. We are the best team in the NFC right now. We have the best receivers, and our defense is only adding pieces. Guys are only coming back. So we're going to get Carlton Davis back. We're going to get Brent Grimes back. We're going to get Vita Vea in the mix. This team is going to be unstoppable. You better watch out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because this season is our season. You got to remember, the Jags went 3-13 before making an appearance in the AFC Championship. There's absolutely no reason we can't do the same. I have seen nothing out of this team that hasn't given me hope, hasn't inspired me. In fact, the only bit of news I've gotten about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that I don't want to hear is about a guy who's not even in the facility, a guy who's not even on the field, Jameis Winston. I don't want to hear about him anymore. He's not the starter. He's certainly currently not the starter, and there's no reason to give him the ball back. You know how many times he's gone 2-0 to start the season? Never. Never in his career. Ryan Fitzpatrick has more first quarter touchdowns already through 2 games than Jameis Winston had all of last season. This is a guy who's not playing from behind. This is a guy who's not committing unsportsmanlike penalties. He's a better quarterback. Go figure. And the last time a guy wore the number 14 jersey under center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we won the Super Bowl. This is what happens. This is what happens when you build a team through the draft. Offensively, defensively, you build weapons around a quarterback, and then you go and get a quarterback. You go and get a guy who's going to make smart game management decisions, who's going to check down, who's going to go through his progressions, and who's not going to give the game away. You win games. Simply put, you win games. We've won 2 games, and people are starting to overreact. People are starting to believe. And it's about time in Tampa Bay that we felt like we are a winning team. They always talk about a culture of winning. You can't build a culture of winning without wins. You can't do it. Freeman couldn't do it. Winston couldn't do it. Sims couldn't do it. But Fitzpatrick is doing it. And he looks to continue to do it. And I think on Monday night, you're going to see something spectacular. Under the lights, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know them. I know them. We all love them. They're going to get a win. And then we're going to take it to Chicago. And the real questions are going to need to be asked. What is the future of this team going forward? Who is the face of this franchise? What does it mean to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer? And ask yourself if Jameis Winston is the answer to any of those questions. I don't believe that he is. Because not any time in the last 2 years have I felt going into a game as confident as I do today. They're going to give the ball back to Ryan Fitzpatrick if he wins these next 2 games. And he's going to keep winning. And the world better watch out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Touchdown Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. Bucs lead 6-0. Again, fire those cannons 6 times.
One of the most glaring problems facing the Tampa Bay Bucs this year absolutely has to be our secondary. We've got a lot of rookies with a lot of talent, but we also have some veterans who have proven themselves time and time again, and the decision has to be made, which players do you start? Who do you put out there at game time that gives you the best opportunity to win? And I truly believe that's going to be our veterans. Guys like Brent Grimes, Vernon Hargraves, and Justin Evans. Now, we've got great great rookies that we've brought in, especially Carlton Davis. I think he's going to be a monster going forward and in years to come. And with Vernon Hargreaves going down due to injury, I think we're going to see a lot more of Davis. Now, he left the game injured as well last week, and I hope that he comes back from that injury strong and he plays well. But when you're 2-0, you're leading the division, and you're looking to make a playoff berth for the first time in a decade, you gotta play your veterans. So we're going into Monday night against the Steelers. They've got Antonio Brown. Who better to cover him, to lock him down, to take him out of the picture than Brent Grimes? I don't see any reason that a guy of that caliber doesn't start. I don't care what kind of rookies you have. In this game, in this instance, you absolutely have to play Brent Grimes. Now, if Hargreaves was healthy, he would be starting as well. He gets a lot of flack from fans, from people in the media, especially online. I don't see it. He plays out of his mind as often as he can, and he plays 100%. And the reason he's injured is because he went up to make a play that he probably should have let go. But he plays wholehearted, and he got injured, and he's done for the season. But if he was here, he'd be starting right now over any of these rookies. I really want to see more love for a player who gets too much hate, which is Chris Conte. Conte and Evans are two starting safeties right now, and Pro Football Focus has them graded out as less than a 75 every season. They rate them as trash. They've got our secondary listed as the 31st worst secondary in the league, and I just don't see how that's possible. But if that's what you want to go by, if you want to grade these players out, then yeah, he's trash. But who are we comparing him against? I know there's a lot of love out there for Derwin James. There was a lot of people in the Bucs fan base that said we should have drafted him when we had the opportunity instead of taking Vita Vea, who unfortunately hasn't been playing yet. But when we look at it, when we look at the actual numbers, Conte has twice the number of solo tackles. If you take away Derwin James' one sack, what does he have? He's got nothing. Justin Evans has a touchdown. He's got passes defended more than James does. These guys are playing, and they're playing well. And I think over the season, you're going to see these numbers better than they have been in the past, mostly because the defensive line is going to show up this year. A good defensive line can make a good secondary, but the reverse is rarely true. A good secondary can't do anything for a porous, weak defensive line. Now, we're getting pressure, which is leading to interceptions. We're getting pressure, which is leading to passes getting broken up. And we're getting pressure, which is allowing our linebackers and our safeties to get in and get sacks when they come up into coverage as well. That's something that we've never seen before. We've had one decent defensive lineman as long as I can remember. Gerald McCoy, he's the only one. But this year, we've paired him with JPP. We've paired him with Vinny Curry. We've put some guys up there with him that has allowed our secondary to play. Now, you're going to see rookies playing. You're going to see rookie defensive backs, whether we like it or not, just due to injury. We're plagued by injuries, and these kids are going to get to play. But when the decision has to be made about who you're going to put out there, who's going to start, it's got to be your veterans. It's got to be guys like Brent Grimes. It's got to be guys like Chris Conte, because they know the game. They've watched it. Chris Conte has watched a lot of the game pass him by. But this season, I fully expect it to be different. I expect him to come up big. He's made some great splash plays in the first 2 weeks, and he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. And I think by the end of this season, he's going to get some much overdue love. If our defensive line, as we add pieces, as we bring guys like Vita Vea in, and they start to really get after the quarterback, I think you're going to see Conte and Evans really come into their own, really show you what kind of players they are. And, I mean, that's what we've always wanted, right? That's what we've wanted to see out of Chris Conte, was we wanted a big, scary, white safety that reminded us of John Lynch, and he just hasn't been that. But the other thing you have to remember is this isn't the same game that John Lynch played. You can't headhunt. You can't go over the middle and murder receivers. they're not going to let you get away with it anymore. They're not going to let you go and hit him in the neck. They're not going to let you hit him in the shoulders. You can't even touch him in the pads. It's essentially flag football, and guys like Chris Conte weren't built, trained, or grew up to play this kind of game. So it has taken a little bit of an adjustment, but he's worth it. I think he's our best option at safety right now, right along there with Justin Evans. And especially with our cornerbacks, that's another position where I would rather see our veterans play. However, due to injury, we're going to see some rookies. But I am a firm believer that our veterans give us the best opportunity to win. And going forward, we started out 2-0. We want to be 3-0, 4-0 by the bye. What gets us there is definitely our veterans.
No. Wrong. It's time to let the rookies take the throne for the Buccaneers secondary going forward. Carlton Davis, MJ Stewart, that's the future. And we need to let these guys play to give us the best chance to win here in 2018 and in the long term. Yes, an argument can be made that right now they do not give us the best chance to win. If you look at the PFF grades through 2 weeks, Carlton Davis is grading out as just an average cornerback, number 71 overall in the league. MJ Stewart is grading out just above average at number 61 overall in the league. But that's expected. They're rookies. You really expect them to be in a top 10 in 2 weeks in the NFL? No, of course not. The best thing we can do for these guys is let them play. There is nothing more invaluable in football than playing time. Getting them on the field, letting them understand our defense, letting them understand the tendencies of receivers. Get them game knowledge. Get them game time. That's the only way they're going to get better. And in my opinion, there's a reason why we drafted these guys in the second round. It's because they're freaking good. Come on now. They're talented. There's a reason they went in the second round. They have talent. They will be good. And if we give them the opportunity to play here in the 2018 season, I only think it helps us going forward long term. They'll turn into some real studs here in the secondary. So if I were you guys, I'd break out your Carlton dance, and we'll dance all the way to the playoffs in 2018. Go Bucs, baby!
It's not unusual to be mad with anyone. It's not unusual to be sad with anyone. But if
All right, guys, welcome to our favorite part of the podcast, Game 3 predictions. Monday Night Football. Under the lights of Raymond James. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mr. Williams, help us out here.
so get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready to touch football? On Monday night in Vegas. Yeah, this is rockin' Randall Hank with a special alert for the nation.
Woo! That's right. It's Monday Night Football. Back in the Bay. Oh, man, I'm stoked. But all right, let's get into it. We got two things I want to really talk about as we get into this game. Number one, I think the biggest story coming into the game, obviously, is the off-the-field issues for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been all over the news, guys. Antonio Brown getting on Twitter, responding to previous staff members about trading him, disciplined over the week for not attending practice. You got Le'Veon Bell still not signed with the or still hasn't reported to the team, clubbing down in Miami. You've got reports about division in the locker room. You got Mike Tomlin having to address these in the media. So the question really is coming into this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least, are they going to be focused? Are they going to be really focused on, making sure that they come out strong, they come out prepared, and they come out ready to knock some people around, because they're still 0-1, and they haven't won this season. They're 0-1-1. Not what we had expected this matchup to be, I think. Everybody here could anticipate that this was going to be a really strong team coming into this matchup. We were kind of hoping, really, best bet, maybe 1-1, realistically 0-2, but here we are sitting at 2-0, guys. And we've got this winless team coming into Raymond James with a lot of off-the-field problems. That bodes well for us. But we'll see. In my opinion, I think they're either going to come out one or two ways. One, they're going to come out unprepared. They're going to come out sloppy. They're going to come out unfocused. And obviously that will bode well for us Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Or number two, they're going to come out focused. They're going to come out desperate. And they're going to come out angry. And I think if it's the latter, we're going to have a really tough time scoring points on that team and getting an OW out of this. They're still a really talented team. So we'll see come Monday night, but it could go either way. I'm hoping for the first, but I'm expecting the latter. But the second thing I really think is really cool about this game is you got the number one overall passing offense versus the number two overall passing offense. But guess who's number one, baby? That's right. Your hometown Tampa Bay Buccaneers, baby. Woohoo! Averaging 400 yards a game, averaging 4 touchdowns a game, and not to mention, we got some of the best receivers in the league, guys. Deshaun Jackson leading the league in receiving yards. Mike Evans leading the league in total receptions. I lied about that, but I just want to say that. But anyway, I mean, we got a really good offense. So, or at least a passing attack. And so does Pittsburgh. So it's going to be really, I'm anticipating a big time, kind of another shootout here. So, from a defensive side of the ball, we're second to last in the league against the pass. Pittsburgh is at the bottom of the league against the pass. Run defense, we're actually number 2 overall in the league. They're middle of the pack. So, in my opinion, it was nice to see that the defense, at least for us, looked like they stepped their game up a little bit in the second game against the Eagles. Yes, there was some sloppiness late in the game, but we had some people out of the game due to injury. I'm hoping they keep up the momentum. The defensive line continues to gel and work together. We get a couple sacks of Roethlisberger, a couple turnovers here and there. Do just enough to stop the Pittsburgh offense and to help us create short fields, to help our offense continue its momentum during the season. So, key matchup that I'd like to look at here is probably going to be Deshaun Jackson versus whoever Pittsburgh puts on their side. Either it be Artie Burns or if Joe Hayden comes back, Joe Hayden. I just don't think either of those guys are going to be able to keep up with Deshaun this game. Deshaun seems to have found the fountain of youth this year. Like I said earlier, he's leading the league in total reception yards. He's already got, I think, 3 touchdowns, greater than 40 yards for the season. Then I think he continues that momentum. I do. I think Fitzmagic finds him on a 40, 50-yard bomb. Probably not to start the game like last week, but I think at some point in the time, Monken calls his number, and we find Deshaun for a long bomb touchdown. So that's my key matchup. So for my offensive player of the game, how could I go with anybody else? It's got to be Fitzmagic. Ho, it's magic. You know, never believe it's not so, but believe it because he's going to do it again. Maybe not 400 yards, maybe not 4 touchdowns, but he's going to keep up the Fitzmagic. It's going to be alive and well again here in Game 3. I'm predicting he's going to have 300-plus yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, and let's tack on a rushing touchdown for him. I think he gets in within the red zone, maybe a 5-yard line or less. We call his number on a QB draw. He sneaks in there. So Fitzmagic, baby, you're going to keep it up. Offensive player of the game. My defensive player of the game, I'm going with Mr. number 54, Levante David. This guy just has a knack for making big plays in big games on a big stage. Mr. David, he's just got a nose for the football, man. He knows how to create turnovers. This is a guy who's the only person in the league last year to have 5 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, and 5 sacks. Those are game-changing plays, and I think he does it here. I'm predicting that he gets 1 turnover, either through a fumble or interception this game, that helps turn the tide a little bit and slow the momentum of Pittsburgh and help our defense and our offense be able to continue our momentum here in the season. Okay, ready for it, guys? Final score prediction. Say it with me. 3-0. That's right. 3-0, baby. Tampa Bay brings home the bacon. Tampa Bay 31, Pittsburgh 24. Go home, Steelers. You're going home winless, baby. We're taking this to the house. Woo! Ric Flair status, baby. But yep, we're gonna come out victorious, and we're gonna be heading into Chicago come week 4, 3-0, baby. All right, guys. Well, that's the podcast for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in Monday, 8:30 ESPN. Catch all the action there. We're stoked here. I know you guys are stoked too. So we'll see you guys next week, and we'll be, again, always covering our Game 3 reactions, our overreactions, and our Game 4 predictions as we go face the Bears in Chicago. All right, guys. See you next week. Go Bucs!